All right, so now we can get started. Good evening, everybody, and it is great to have you here this evening um, on this webinar called The Three Keys to Creating Epic Relationships. I always say if you're going to be in a relationship, you might as well make it epic, right? Why waste our time with anything less than that? So, in this webinar, we're going to talk about the challenges of our time because the relationship challenge change over time. So, what is it that we are being challenged with today? Then I'm going to go and give you the three keys to creating epic relationships. I'm going to talk about relationship dynamics in terms of the masculine and feminine energies and how they play off each other. And then lastly, I'm going to offer you some support for you to consciously create epic relationships. So, who the heck is Naidoo? Very quickly, I'm coaching for 24 years now. I started off my journey after I got divorced because I was really hit by that and wondering, why is it that bad things happen to good people? How is it that two good people come together with the greatest of intentions, completely and totally in love with each other, and then, 10 years down the line, we go our separate ways. So that led me on a search for answers. What is it that makes some relationships work and others don't? So I interviewed over 1,000 people, some that were single, to see where are the challenges when it comes to finding a partner, some that were divorced to see what went wrong and those relationships didn't work out. And then the best part was interviewing couples that were together for 30, 40, 50 years. And I wanted to see what made those relationships work. How is it those people were so ecstatically happy all that time later, still in love with each other. And I'm not talking about Facebook happy, right? Because Facebook gives you put the highlights of your relationship there. So it's the anniversaries, it's the holidays and all of that, but no one sees what's going on behind closed doors. So I'm talking about genuinely happy relationships. And another thing is that I'm very passionate about the work that I do. So I'm on a mission to awaken 1 million people to the idea that epic relationships are not found, they are consciously created. So a lot of the time we want to blame the state of our relationship on the partner. If only our partner could do XYZ, then I would be happy, right? But it is about making a decision about a person that you want in your life and then together consciously creating that epic relationship. And the way I've started doing this is so far I've been interviewed multiple times on quite a few radio stations. I've contributed to articles in different magazines and newspapers. I've written over 100 articles on relationships. I have a YouTube channel that's got over 100 videos on relationships, right? So that's how I've started my mission. So now that you know a little bit about who I am, let's get started with today's challenges in relationships. So for those people that are single, um, you'll find that the first thing is, where do I find a quality partner today? Where do I find someone that complements me? Um, and usually we don't want to meet people in the workplace. So the place that a lot of people go to are the dating apps because it's so easy, it's so accessible. And when we go on there, the challenge is that there are 75% men and 25% women on the dating apps, right? So women, you might think that's a yay. There's like a 3-to-1 ratio. However, and gentlemen, please don't be insulted by this. I'm just going on everything that I know, the stats that I know, and what I've got from talking to thousands of people. The majority of the 75% that are on the dating apps are very lazy. So they have no intention of getting off the couch and actually setting up a coffee date and meeting someone face to face. So you'll see it's the constant up and down texting that happens. And then at some point, two people feel, oh, this is going really, really well. And then one person just drops off the face of the earth, disappears. It's called ghosting. And the other one is left completely flabbergasted. I have no clue what has happened. Where's this person gone to? Were they hit by a bus, maybe? All right. So there's a whole lot of things. There's the catfishing that goes on where people use other people's pictures, put them up there, and they're texting, but you have no idea that the picture you've seen is not the person that you're talking to, and so on. Um, Taking the dating apps out of the picture, sometimes the challenge is that because we're living so independently, we can set up our home, we have our work, we have our set group of friends, we can get into a comfort zone where life is good. It's not great, but it's good. So I have all the comforts. I've set up my home exactly the way I want it. Do I really want to upset this? Do I really want to let another person in? Right? That's another challenge that's becoming quite great among women who are very independent. So they've set up their lives in a way, they've got their friends, and now the question is, do I want to upset this? The next challenge is that you feel that you're meeting the same type of person over and over again. So I'm going to give you reasons why all of this happens, right? So you meet someone and then that relationship doesn't work. And then you get into another relationship. And in the beginning, it's, wow, this is amazing. This is my soulmate. We're going to live happily ever after. That's the fairy tale that we all buy into, right? One day I'm going to meet the perfect person and we're going to live happily ever after. And then you find a couple of months down the line or even a year down the line, you start seeing
Which item? WhatsApp audio.
um, can I ask everyone to just mute yourselves, please, because there's some noise coming through from somebody? Maybe I'll do it from my side. Let's see. Okay. So in the end, you can unmute when you have questions, right? But I've muted everyone for now. So you'll see the pattern emerging that the person now has very similar characteristics to the last person. The arguments you're having are very similar to what happened in the past. So you see that you're now in a pattern and can go on for 2 or 3 or 4 relationships. And there's a reason that that is happening, right? That I'm gonna come to. Something that I find a lot of women are telling me today is that men are intimidated by us. If you're successful, if you're very independent, then men are feeling, why does she even need me? Right? That one's coming up a lot. The next challenge is that you can be getting some bad advice. So, what happens when you're with someone is if you have a problem, what we do is instead of talking to our partners, we talk about them. So we go to our friends and we say, he said this, she did that. What do I do? What does this mean? They sent this text. What do you think they mean? So we're not talking to our partners, but rather we're talking to our friends. And our friends will always have our backs. They're always in our camp, right? So when they see something based on their life experience that doesn't look great, they're going to say, no, this is not good, just shut it down. Or they're going to encourage you to go into something, even if the red flags are there. So they're coming from their life experiences. They're not the expert in the field, but they're going to give you advice based on that. So that's something we need to watch out for, right? And then I think the biggest challenge, whether you're single or you're in a relationship, is that we feel that the problem lies outside ourselves. So it's not me, it is this is how relationships are today. We overly stressed at work. We've got too much to do. My partner doesn't understand me, but my partner doesn't appreciate me. I don't feel the love, or I'm scared of getting hurt again. So all of these things, we think the problem is somewhere out there, and we've got to now protect ourselves from that, right? So what about the challenges for people in relationships, for couples? The number one thing is a lack of communication. This is what I see over and over and over again when a couple comes to me and they feel like when they first met, the kind of relationship they had was so different. They really talked to each other. And now it's like they're just so busy in their lives or they're busy with the kids that they're not really connecting anymore. They're not really having the deeper conversations. And a lot of the time, I find that we're afraid to have the deeper conversations because we think that maybe our partner will leave. If I talk about the things that I'm unhappy about or the things that I want to change, then my partner's going to leave. So rather than that, I'm not going to communicate. So that's when the problems get bigger and bigger and bigger until one day it explodes and it's in your face and you can't avoid it anymore. The second thing is that expectations are not met. So, like I said, the majority of us come into relationships in the hope that this is going to be the fairy tale, right? Perfect partner, we're going to live happily ever after. So, what we do in the initial stages when we meet is we're not always talking about our expectations. um, who do I want to be in a relationship, and what kind of relationship do I want to create? So the focus goes on the dating, the romance, the fun, the chemistry, holidays together, getting to know each other, and then it's engagement and it's wedding and all the preparations for that. And then it's finding the home. And so all of that excitement is happening, and our focus is on all of these things on the outside. But if we didn't talk about the marriage and what we expect of that going forward, and the majority of couples I know do not have that conversation up front, right? So suddenly now, when everything's settled and everyone else is gone and it's just the two of you, now you start realizing that in my mind, I had a set of expectations of what this was going to be like, and it's not exactly like that. So now we don't know how to handle that because we didn't take the time to learn the tools, the skills to handle those kind of situations, right? Let's admit nobody teaches us how to create relationships that are deeply meaningful, where there's open communication, where we're supporting each other, we're encouraging each other. No one actually teaches us how to do any of that. So we jump into relationship in the hope that the fact that we love each other, that's enough. And unfortunately, it's not. Because if it was enough, then we wouldn't have a divorce rate of 53%. Second marriages is 67, third marriages is 72% divorce rate, right? So that's really high numbers. And my question to everyone is, are you willing to gamble your happiness on we love each other, so it's all going to be perfect? All right. The next thing I see that challenges couples today is a physical disconnect. So when the mind connection is broken, so initially when two people meet, there's lots of conversations going on because you're getting to know each other. And later on, those conversations start dying off. And if we don't have that mind connect, the mental stimulation where we can have conversations on various topics that interest each one of us, when we start losing that, then also we're losing the emotional connection. Every time that we had an expectation and it was not met, we withdraw a little bit and a little bit more. If we're hurting and we can't talk to our partners about it, we shut down a little bit more. And when the mind and the emotional connection is not there anymore, then the physical connection shuts down as well. So now it's like we used to have a truly intimate connection. We felt this chemistry. We wanted to be together, but now that's not there anymore. All right. I know couples that go months and they haven't had sex for months, um, and they don't even talk about it because it's just this is one of those things. This is how it is. I don't feel like this. Another one is I see couples that are unhappy, but they stay together for the sake of the kids. And that is the biggest lie that we tell ourselves. Because if two people are miserable, they are not doing those kids any good whatsoever. Because children pick up not just what you tell them, but they pick up your emotions. They pick up what's going on in your mind. All right. So they're picking up the energy between the two of you. And it actually has been proven in a study where they took couples that were not very happy together. They may not have been screaming and shouting and fighting, not in an obvious way, but there was this disconnect. They were unhappy. And it was found in every single case that the cortisol levels in the child's urine is raised. So cortisol is the stress hormone. Okay, so children are getting stressed out because their parents are not happy. Um, then another challenge is financial issues. So when there's financial issues, it causes a great strain and the pressures there, especially when one partner is contributing a lot more and the other one's not. That can cause that disconnect there because the one that's contributing more at some point is going to start becoming resentful. And then the biggest one is affairs. So that happens when the disconnect is there, the expectations are not met. We maybe tried, maybe we did some relationship counseling, something, and then it didn't work, or we weren't committed enough, or one partner wasn't committed enough. And at some point, one of the partners meets somebody, and that person sees you. They validate you. You feel this person actually listens. So I'm getting the things that I'm not getting in my relationship. I'm getting it from this person. And that's how affairs happen. All right. So if we don't want that to happen, we've got to consciously put some time and energy into the relationships that we are in. So now we move to the three keys. The first key is healing. And when I say healing, we can't heal another person. So we've got to trash that thought, right? We've got to step back and focus inward because the only place healing can take place is within yourself. And I think it was Einstein that said, you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created the problem. So a lot of people say, I'm working on myself. What does that mean? Because it's the same mind that created the problem that is now trying to solve the problem. All right. So we need a new mind. We need a new way of thinking. We need new tools to be able to heal. And healing occurs, I call this the onion healing because when you look at an onion, there's layers. So what happens is that your subconscious mind, which stores every single memory, every experience you've ever had, every feeling you've ever felt, every thought you've ever had, is stored in your subconscious mind. So that subconscious mind will offer up to your conscious mind what it believes the conscious mind can handle. And when we heal that outer layer, now we're feeling a little bit better, a little bit more confident, more sure of ourselves, a little bit happier. Then the subconscious says, okay, you're strong enough, and I'm going to offer up the next layer of this onion for healing. So each layer is a little bit deeper. It's not necessarily more difficult because as you learn the tools for healing and as you go deeper, you'll be able to handle it because you have the tools. You know how to do the healing work, right? So we need to look at our healing not as an event, but as a process. It's a journey. Um, and when we look at it like that, then we don't say, oh, I've done the healing work. And now we look at potential partners and say, well, they need to go and do the work. Or my partner needs to go and do the work because I've done the work. You may have healed a layer, two layers, three layers, but there's more. Okay. Then we have healing in terms of big trauma and small trauma. So the big T trauma is, sorry if I'm pausing, but I'm just letting people in the group as we go along. Um, so the big trauma is things that happen in our lives, like if we lose a partner, either through divorce or death, that is a big trauma, right? We have big traumas in terms of life-changing illnesses, crime, rape, war, all of these things where we lose all our money, we may lose our house or get that threat that we're going to lose our house. So all of these are the big traumas in our lives. But there's the little traumas as well that get ignored because we feel, oh, this is not really as serious as the big T's that I mentioned now. And the small traumas are the times when you were rejected. It's the time when someone, whether it's a parent or a partner, that didn't quite believe in you, didn't have your back, didn't support you, and you felt alone. These are the little traumas that we all go through in life, but we think, oh, that's not a big deal. So we don't do the healing work on these little traumas. And what happens is it builds up and it builds up and it builds up and it creates blocks to us having an open heart and actually loving openly. And then there's the myth of positive thinking. There's this whole wave. I think it started with The Secret back in 2008, where like think positively. You've got to, if you notice that you have a negative thought, you've got to change it into a positive thought. And as much as I advocate for positive thinking, it is sometimes a block to your healing because healing requires you to feel the pain. It requires you to admit that there is a problem, that I am feeling alone, or I am feeling sad, or I am in fear, I am angry. It requires us to actually go there, not sit there permanently, not set up camp, but actually go there long enough for us to see the problem and then heal that, release that. So we're not carrying that with us into the future. So yes, positive thinking, but we also have to do the healing work, right? It's called, the term for that is spiritual bypass, where we only want to be focused on positive thinking, but we're not actually doing the healing work of the traumas that we've experienced before. So, thank you, Mela, if you're on the call right now, because I got this from your Facebook post today. All right. That's what it's like when we don't heal uh, the hurt from the past. It's like carrying this massive, massive backpack and trying to make your way through life carrying this. So the second key is know thyself. So usually when someone starts talking to me and I say, what do you want? And they've got a grocery list ready to go of all the things they want in a partner, all the things we want from a relationship. We know that really, really well. But before what I want, we need to know, who am I? Who am I? Because that then determines what it is you want. Because more than what I want, I need to know what I have to offer. Because if I know that, this is what I have to offer, and that's a big, big, long list. These are all the things. I'm this amazing, magnificent being, and I have all this to offer. Then we ask for what it is we have to give and nothing more. Right? So, can you see when we start doing the work to knowing who we are in our magnificence, at our true potential, then we know what we want because we ask for what it is we have to give. Do you know your attachment style? So, um, very quickly, attachment styles are you can be avoidant. That means every time there's a problem, I don't want to talk about this. Now's not the right time. You're running for the hills, right? You shut down because you don't want to when there's conflict, you don't want to address it. You don't want to have conversations about it. And unfortunately, the avoidant personality will always attract an anxious attachment style. So the anxious one is, we need to solve this now. We need to talk about this. If the partner is on their phone and they're smiling, they may have been reading a joke. I mean, who are they talking to? Who are they flirting with? We want to check their phones. We want to check their emails. We want to see what's going on in their lives, right? That's the anxious attachment style. So you can see those two come together for the purpose of healing. Because when you heal that, you can become secure. And in a secure attachment style, that is adult relationships. We're not playing games. We're not manipulating. We're not hiding. Now we can sit there and have open communications. Do you know your love language? And you don't need to just know your love language. You need to know all the love languages. And the reason for this is one of the things that truly deepens communication. Because if one person has, let's say their love language is acts of service, that means when you do things for them, they see that as love. You did the dishes, they had a long day, so you cooked the dinner. You took their car to be washed. They were really tired and you offered a massage, or you drew a bath for them. Whatever it is, acts of service, that's how they understand love. But if your love language is words of affirmation, so you may be just saying, I love you, I care for you, maybe writing them a beautiful poem, sending lovely birthday cards, and you're wondering, I'm telling them every day that I love them. Why is it that they feel unloved? It's because their love language is acts of service. So we need to be able to speak the other person's love language, right? So just as we want our partners to know us, this is my love language. So when you communicate with me in this language, I feel loved. So what is your language? I'll communicate with you in your language so you feel loved. And you see that, and it doesn't just work in romantic relationships. It also works in your relationships with parent and child, with siblings, with best friends, with colleagues at work. When we understand that and we talk to people in their language, they feel seen, they feel recognized, they feel understood, and they feel loved. All right. Um, the next thing about knowing yourself is, how do you fight? So when there's a disagreement, what is it that you do? How do you fight? Are you the one that starts the Cold War? So you shut down, you freeze them out, you're not willing to open up to conversation, you're not even listening, you don't make any eye contact. Um, or are you the one that has to have a screaming match? Are you the one that will not back down until you get your way? How do you fight? Are you a good listener when your partner's talking? Do you provide a safe space for them to be able to say whatever it is they want in that moment? Or do you shut them down, cut them off mid sentence, speak over their voice? Are you a listener? All right. So if we want to be better at any of these things, we need to learn what they are. It's the education, right? And the next thing about knowing yourself is inspect your shield. And what I mean by that is usually when you've been hurt in the past, and if you're a human being, you've been hurt in the past, right? So when we get hurt, what do? We shut our hearts down. We put a huge shield in front of that and we say, don't hurt me. So we look around and we say, I want to protect myself. So now we look at someone and they're wearing a tie that your ex used to wear, and you say, oh, no, 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 hell no. Okay, I'm making light of it with the tie. But we find characteristics. There's something that a person says, and we have this hurt from the past, and immediately the shield comes up. An example of this would be, let's say you had an ex that was very jealous and very controlling. And so that relationship has ended, and you didn't do the healing work on that. So now you're in a new relationship, or you're meeting somebody, and that person says something, and they may have felt that you're in an unsafe place, and they said something because they're protective in nature. So do you immediately see that as jealousy because of the past relationships, and you're making sure you don't see that? That's your shield. All right. So the question is, we have to be open enough to have the conversations to see if this person is jealous or if they're being protective. And they themselves have to be honest enough with themselves to ask, am I being jealous or am I being protective? Which one is it? So we've got to look at that shield. When do we shut ourselves down? When someone says something, when they do something, when there's certain mannerisms we see, we shut down. We've got to inspect that, because the only time we have a shield is when we don't believe that true love is possible for us and is available to us. So I've got to have the shield and protect myself. But when you've healed yourself, and you come to a place where you are strong within you, then you don't need a shield, because whatever happens on the outside, you know that you can handle it. All right. You can say no when you need to say no, and you'll say yes when you need to say yes, but you don't need the shield. All right. And then lastly, can you be vulnerable? Because too often I think we've been conditioned that we've got to put our best foot forward. We've got to always have this happy face. We've got to always, it must seem like we've got it all sorted. And that becomes our public persona. So the question is, can you be vulnerable? Can you say, these are all my really great, strong qualities, but on this side, I have the stuff that I'm working on. Sometimes I, I come from fear. Sometimes I feel guilty if I take too much time for myself. I feel I'm selfish. Sometimes I'm really scared. Can we embrace all parts of ourselves? So it's easy to talk about the good things about ourselves, but can we also put the time and energy into saying, yeah, these are the things that I'm scared about? Because the vulnerability is what creates connection. So instead of talking to someone else about what's going on in your relationship, can you talk to your partner? Can you open up to your partner, let the shield down, open up your heart, and be real, be authentic? Because that is what creates connection. So don't work on your relationship, work on yourself. Um, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but I do not believe in couples counseling. Because with couples counseling, it's like a drop off zone. Each person is trying to win over the counselor to say, see, I'm right, he's wrong. I'm right, she is wrong. Fix her, and then we'll be happy. So each partner is looking to the therapist to say, fix the other person, and then we'll be happy. They are the problem, not me. All right. So when we focus on ourselves, we're taking 100% responsibility. This is me, this is who I am, this is how I show up. Who do I want to be in a relationship? How do I want to show up in a relationship? What is it I want to create in this relationship? Can we come together and have a common vision of the future and what it is we want to create? Right? And then the third key is wholeness. So, wholeness is this feeling that I am complete. I don't need another person to complete me. I don't need someone else to make me happy because I am already happy. So if I'm whole, I'm complete, I'm happy, I have focus, I have drive, I know my purpose, I know who I am. Now I'm sharing this whole person with someone else. I'm not coming here in the hope that someone else is going to save me and rescue me and make me whole. Okay? Those kind of relationships are fraught with it's discontent, there's arguments, there's insecurity. But when you feel that you're whole and you have another person in your life that's also whole and complete, now the security is there. Okay? Now you get to step into your potential. And the only reason we are here on this planet is for us to step into our fullest potential. So relationships are one of the areas that comes to you as a platform for you to grow into your fullest potential. If we look at relationships like that, it's a whole new way of looking at it. So someone is not here to make me happy, they're here to make me whole. How precious is that, right? If we can see it like that. And we feel this deep sense of worthiness. And worthiness is very different from confidence. A lot of the people I work with are very confident people because they're successful on the work front. They are in their genius zone there. They've spent years and years studying and then gaining experience, and they know their stuff, so they're very confident. But confidence has nothing to do with worthiness, because worthiness is internal. It is a deep sense of knowing that I have value. Exactly where I am, exactly as I am, I have value. That means I know that I have all this great stuff about me, but I also know that there's this other stuff that I'm working on. And even though I am still worthy. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of peace. I'm worthy of joy. I'm worthy of happiness. See that deep feeling of it. And when you can truly feel that, you will never settle for less than what it is you truly desire in life. Whether it's in relationships or work or friendships, you will not settle. When someone's being disrespectful, you will be able to stand up and say, I will not be treated in this way. I will not be spoken to in this way. You don't have to scream and shout. It's the quiet inner knowing that this is what I deserve, right? And then it comes with self-love. When we know worthiness, worthiness leads to self-love. And self-love is not the external, I took myself off for a massage, or I'm treating myself at a day spa, or I bought myself this new car, and that's how I'm loving myself. Those are all the external things. The self-love, again, is a feeling of love for yourself, where you look at yourself and it's like this total acceptance of who you are on your path. You're not a perfect being. So you've achieved all that you've achieved, but there's more on your path. But you love yourself every step of the journey, right? So it's not an event, it's not a destination. The learning, the growing, the evolving is why we are here. As long as you are here, you open your eyes in the morning and you take a breath, you have more to learn. So for all those people that say, I've done the work on myself, now we're angry at all the other people in the world that haven't done the work. All right. Know that it's a journey. It's your journey. It's a step up. And as you learn and grow more, then there's the next step that's waiting for you. It's your next level up and your next level up and your next level up. And that is why I named my business Next Level Up. So how do we do this? How do we get to this place of wholeness? The way we do this is we balance our masculine and feminine energies. So it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, we both have masculine and feminine energies. So far, we've lived in a masculine energy dominant world. And gentlemen, I'm not saying anything about you. I'm talking about masculine energy in both men and women, right? So if you look at our work world, we are making decisions all day. We are setting goals. We're striving. We're achieving. We are taking action all the time. And when that energy becomes excessive, then we're overworking. And then we find we're exhausted. We don't have time for ourselves, right? That's not excessive masculine energy. And that energy is both men and women are operating from that energy in the work world. So you'll find that it doesn't work in relationships. So if you have the man in his strong masculine energy, and if you have a woman in her strong masculine energy, it's like bringing the two positive ends of a magnet, and it will repel, it will push apart. So, in relationships, what is most ideal is if you have a man who has slightly dominant masculine energy and a woman who has slightly dominant feminine energy. So now you have the polarity, you have the positive and the negative of the magnet. Now you're going to create attraction, you're going to create this chemistry between two people, right? And that's what makes those ideal relationships. So let's very quickly go through what the masculine and feminine energies look like. When the masculine is excessive, it's driven by status, possessions. This is who I am. This is what I have. Initially, the excessive masculine can be very charming. But if he doesn't get his way, then he can become overly controlling, even aggressive, abusive. He induces fear. So he controls from a place of fear. And this is usually someone that has suppressed their emotions through their life. And now this is how it explodes. Then there's the wounded masculine. And again, unfortunately, a lot of men are in their wounded masculine energy where it can't really make decisions. It's usually someone that was bullied or mistreated as a child. So they can't set boundaries. So these are the people that get manipulated, they get used, and they have unhealed pain from childhood. So it shows as low self-esteem, a lack of confidence. They may even have financial challenges. This is the one that will have the affair, right? Then you have the balanced masculine. Now, all the ladies in the room are going to say, this is the man I want. Because when he's balanced, the divine masculine, the secure masculine, is very logical, able to take action, provides safety, and he's a good provider, he's a good protector. He has order and structure and discipline. He's someone who's confident, he's kind, he's giving, and he has mastered his emotions, right? So the idea is to recognize where we have the excessive energy and release that, recognize where we have the wounded and heal that, and come into this balanced masculine. It doesn't happen overnight. It is something that we consciously work at, and that's us now moving into our potential. So the excessive feminine is the woman that is very manipulative, very judgmental. She can use her sexuality to get what she wants. She will get her way no matter the cost of it. She's someone that is the diva. She's demanding. She's high maintenance. She's always right. And she seeks to change her partner. And usually the excessive feminine attracts the wounded masculine. I'll show you that in a moment. So the wounded feminine is the woman that is the victim, poor me. I've been so abused. And she repeatedly goes back to the abuser. She takes the blame, even if he slaps her. It's like, it was my fault. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. Right. So she's got no boundaries. So she gets used and abused time and time again. She has no sense of worth. And there's a lot of unhealed trauma there. So the balanced feminine, now the men in the room are going to say, this is the woman I want, right? So where the man is in the doing, the balanced feminine is in the being. So it's being, it's about presence. It's very receptive. So the masculine gives, the feminine receives, nurturing, creative, intuitive, wise, values community. So you can see all this is very powerful energy. The creative energy is very, very powerful. So imagine now if you can balance your masculine and feminine, because the way the relationship dynamics work is excessive masculine will always attract wounded feminine, the abuser and the abused, right? Excessive feminine will always attract wounded masculine. So that's the ones that can't make the decision. So they're texting you, but they'll never set up a date, right? So when we do the healing work and we come into our balanced masculine energy or our balanced feminine, now we start attracting on that level. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so what does a conscious relationship look like between balanced masculine and balanced feminine? So when you come together, there's harmony between these two. So the one has slightly dominant masculine, the one has slightly dominant feminine, and there's this harmony. Both partners come from a sense of wholeness, high self-esteem, purpose. So they are mutually supportive. There's open communication between them. It is safe to be vulnerable. They know I can talk about anything and my partner's not going to run away, right? Because we committed to each other, we committed to the relationship. The time together is sacred. So when we're together, we're not on our phones, we're not being rude, we're not like, okay, we're together, but now our eyes on the TV screen, right? Um, it's a feeling you get that you actually matter to this other person. It's they see you, they hear you, they value you, they acknowledge you, they appreciate you, they love you, and you know that. You don't have to guess. You don't have to go and have conversations with your friends that say, what do you think he meant? Or she said this or she did this. What do you think that means, right? You know because you're communicating with each other. Both partners want the best for each other. It's this feeling of, I'm proud of you, therefore I support you, I admire you. You fall in love with yourself first before you fall in love with someone else. This is what conscious relationships look like, right? Um, So in terms of any kind of support going forward, if anything in this webinar so far has spoken to you and you feel I can see myself and I can see where I need the help, right? I'm going to invite you to take my free assessment. So, what the assessment does is it's going to tell you where you have excessive, wounded, or balanced masculine and feminine energies. And from there, you'll see where the healing needs to happen. I also have a Facebook group called The Love Evolution and a YouTube channel by the same name. So if you want, you want to watch some videos, you want to read some articles and things, you can go there for more support. So again, relationships are not here to make you happy. It's here to make you whole. So what I'm going to do is stop the share. And I'm going to stop the recording as